Fix Washington. Now from the state capitol, here's Hanna Scott.
Hello, welcome to the Fix Washington podcast. I'm your host, Hanna Scott. We just wrapped up committee assembly days and had a chance to talk to some of our returning members and some of our members who will be leaving us in the 2025 session. First up, we'll hear from 35th District Representative Travis Couture and our new deputy leader, 14th District Representative Chris Corey. Representative Travis Couture from the 35th District. What do you think will be some of the biggest challenges during this upcoming 2025 session?
Yeah, I was recently elected as the assistant floor leader for the House Republican Caucus. I'm very honored and proud to do that. Basically, that means I'll be working a lot on amendments and floor debates and negotiations with the majority party. And so it's a big responsibility, but very happy to have been selected by my peers to do that leadership role. I've spent my first term on the House Appropriations Committee, which is our operating budget, our state's operating budget. And now I'm being elevated to be the ranking member of that committee, which is a huge and awesome responsibility, especially as we go into a budget cycle where we're reportedly, $10 billion or more in a shortfall. And so there's a lot of responsibility. Families at home are hurting. We cannot be raising taxes at this time. That will actually do more to harm Washington families. What we need to have is a government that lives within its means and spends only what it takes in and only for the core priorities of government. So the legislature should focus on creating a budget that is sustainable, that can balance, and that works for everyone in Washington state.
What are the Republican priorities for the 2025 session?
Yeah, some of the biggest priorities for the House Republican Caucus, and I share all these priorities, is we want safe streets. We want to make sure that we're providing an adequate public safety. We are the top in the nation in almost every category for crime, whether it be property crime, stolen vehicles, retail theft being number one. We have to do much better in our communities. It's costing our small businesses a lot of money, and we have to prioritize victims over criminals. Some of the other things that we will be contending with this session is our large budget deficit. We have to be able to get our state operating budget under control. We have to stop spending more than we take in. We can't be raising taxes on families who are struggling, especially in a time of high inflation right now. We have to be able to make sure government is smart and effective and efficient and works for everyone, and that starts with priorities. Budgets are a reflection of our values, and also we have constitutional priorities that are set forth in our state constitution. We should do what government is supposed to do and take care of those top items first before we move down and do anything else. Another one of our big priorities is to take care of working families. We're going to have a host of things that help families that need us the most, those who are blue collar, working on the ground, working hard, especially as we come up on Christmas. We all know that it's hard to afford all the Christmas presents that you want to get for your kids, and everything else during the holidays can be a stressful time for people. We need to build out a state that has a better economy, and that means getting some relief for people on the ground who are struggling with high taxes and not a lot of take-home pay. One of the biggest challenges the Republican caucus has is, well, we're in a minority. We don't have the gavel, we don't have a majority, and so it really just means that you have to be really scrappy and you have to be really smart to make sure that we only pass good bills out of the legislature and not bad ones. We're going to have to fight hard to kill off some harmful proposals from the majority party, but at the same time, we're going to have to collaborate to make sure that we take care of our districts and that every voice is heard in Washington state, including the over 3 million people that the minority party represents here in Washington state.
And that's something that not everybody sees, right? The very hard work that House Republicans do to stop some of the bad policies and proposals by the majority party from passing and further damaging the state.
Yes, last session, the House Republican Caucus played a pivotal role in making sure that we stop devastating policies like increases to property taxes, bills that would have ended rural health care, and also rent control. So many things that could have been devastating to Washington, the minority party, the House Republicans, stood up and killed those bad pieces of legislation off. We're going to have to do that, sadly, again this session. For public safety, it's very important that we stop the scourge of fentanyl. We had over 3,600 overdose-related deaths in our state last year. And if you think about it, that is like having a 9/11 style event happen in your state every single year. That's how many deaths that is. That's the population of McChord Air Force Base. That is the population of many of our small towns like Kingston. And so we can't be seeing this slow motion death, this mass casualty on our street. We have to do something right and real about fentanyl. But then also we have to hold criminals accountable. We cannot be in the top 5 of all of the states in the United States for stolen vehicles, for property crime, for larceny thefts, for murders. We have to do much better. That means not only getting public safety the funding that it needs, but also getting our law enforcement the respect that it needs so that we can recruit more police on the ground. We have the lowest per capita police in Washington State, and we have to get more boots on the ground in order to stop this crime wave that we have.
Congratulations on being selected as the new deputy leader. What is that going to mean for you?
Well, we've got a lot of exciting changes going on here at the House Republican Caucus. As deputy leader, I get to be involved in a lot of things, but most importantly is making sure that the priorities of my members are well represented here in Olympia, and they can do their best to represent the citizens of Washington that have sent him here. So it's going to mean a lot more work, but it's fun work, right? I think that's we all come here with a passion to serve and the ability to get into the weeds and talk about issues that are going on outside of my district and how we can effectively move the needle for those people across Washington State is going to be huge. We're also, we've got a new governor coming in. We've got new members, so it's going to be interesting. The House Republicans have a number of really important priorities that I think are front of mind for most Washingtonians. First and foremost, public safety. Washington continues to be an outlier when it comes to public safety, both in terms of number of police officers per capita, we're the lowest in the country, but our crime rates are continuing to rise. So even though nationally the trend is down, Washington is up. That has to change. It's not good for the people of our state. It's not good for business. It's just not a good example that we in Washington should be setting as we represent ourselves on this, as in the United States and around the world. Housing affordability. It's another one that we've all heard from people in our district, whether you're on the west side or the east side. We've done a lot of things wrong in this state to make it more expensive and more difficult to buy a house. So getting out of the way, making sure the state is not the reason why houses aren't being built. That's a lot of zoning regulation reform. It's a lot of Growth Management Act reform. Anything we can do to help spur housing development. And it's key that it's going to be the private sector that's going to do this. We cannot expect the government to build affordable housing. That's just not how it will work in our state. Other areas are going to continue to be around fiscal responsibility, taxes. The Democrats have been really talking about this huge budget deficit we're going into, and I've been reminding everyone that our actual state revenues, the money coming in from taxpayers, is still going up. It's slowed a bit compared to several years, but it is still up. We're not talking about a recession where we're getting less money into the state. It really is a spending problem. And so we need to right-size our budget. So that'll be an area for us House Republicans to focus on, is how do we pay for those core functions of state government and get out of the way in others. We don't need to be taxing people right now, which is what we're hearing from the majority party. And that obviously is very concerning to a lot of working families across the state.
Thanks, Rep. Couture and Rep. Corey. Coming up, we'll hear from a couple of our members exiting the House Republican Caucus in the 2025 session.
All right, high fives. You got this.
Thank you, Representative Corey, and welcome 7th District Representative Jacqueline May Cumber. You're leaving us. Sad. What do you think is your biggest accomplishment during your time as a state representative?
Oh, thank you for asking that, because, you think about all the things that you sacrifice to be here and the time away from family and sometimes, the criticism and being in the arena.
Yeah.
And from both sides, it can feel much like the House floor, right? The gallery, right. And you're fighting. I think one of the greatest accomplishments when I think about, capping the cost of insulin before the federal government, and making sure children had access to life-saving medications when our family was devastated with that diagnosis.
Right.
Or the Veteran Service Officer Program, which is shown to save lives and to change some of the poverty ratings in the state of Washington for the most poverty-stricken areas because they were veterans. And so the federal government not paying those veterans what they were due. Or finally, getting apprenticeships in high schools. But I think above all of that, and anything that I, brought to the state of Washington or the community or fought for, I think in totality would be that I represented my district and not anything else. No parties, no fighting. I stood with the people. And sometimes you make enemies and sometimes you make friends. But when you actually stand for something, you can stand tall. And I'm proud of that.
What do you think you'll miss most?
I think truly the honor and the duty. I've worn a uniform before, and I've been in a situation where you risk your life for someone else. And that's a big deal. That is truly the greatest honor that you can do on planet Earth, for America, for your country, for your community, for your family. But this is one of the highest honors, to have my people respect me and send me there with their hopes and their dreams that I will make their lives better here. And sometimes that's not just saying no and just giving up because you're not in the majority, but it's learning how to fight and learning to give them a voice. That's your only job, is to give someone a voice. That's what I'll miss most, that I represented 167,000 people, no matter who they were, no matter what they believed in, that I represented all of them and I gave them a voice here.
Who are you going to miss the most?
Who am I going to miss the most? As a former staffer, I will miss the staff.
Because we're the best.
Yeah. As someone who knows and has been there and knows what's happening, they keep everything going, and they know, and they truly do it without the praise. And that's the secret sauce, because sometimes here people are so used to hearing their name, they do things for their name, and the staff don't.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. I'll miss the staff.
Representative Paul Harris, moving on to the Senate. Congratulations. Yep. What do you see as the biggest challenge for Republicans in the state legislature?
I think the biggest challenge we face actually is our numbers. They're having the majority by a supermajority, and it's going to be really difficult. We need to be really strong on thinking of our constituents and why we were sent here, which I really believe is to hold the line on taxes and to try to make life affordable for people in our state.
What are the Republican priorities for the 2025 session?
Probably my priorities will be just what we talked about, making sure we don't raise the levy 3% on property taxes for people. Just really thinking always of our constituents and what is most important to them.
Representative Spencer Hutchins leaving us, sadly. So you were here for just a couple of years.
Yeah.
What would you say was your biggest accomplishments while you were here?
Well, it's really easy for politicians to talk about accomplishments in terms of the bills I passed or the different things. I was here for 2 years. It was a short period of time. The most important thing to me when I got here was to represent my community well. My community is a wonderful group of people, and it's a swing district. It's a district that has almost even split between Democrats and Republicans. And I was not interested in coming to Olympia and throwing around partisan, bombs. So I'm really proud of the fact that what I was most focused on was the really positive working relationships I could have in a very bipartisan way to try to advance the interests of the most people possible and do good government. That's what I tried to focus on. I think that's what I did.
So what do you wish you could have done here that you didn't get a chance to?
Something that I think the state of Washington continues to struggle with is we are not being disciplined about the people's money. That is something that I felt heartburn about ever since I first started getting interested in politics. Is we have to be responsible about the dollars that are entrusted to us here in Olympia. And so something that I don't think we have done a very good job of is prioritizing what the different things are that the government should be funding and spending its money on. We need to get back to priorities of government. So that's something that I wish we could do. We need to do more of. And frankly, right now, we are moving into January 2025 in a legislative session with billions of dollars in deficit projected. So now we have to get serious about what the government is spending its money. We should have been the whole time, but now we have to be.
Aside from the obvious budget issues, what do you think the biggest challenges are facing the House Republican caucus and the state as a whole?
Something that I'm very concerned about is the balance of power in Olympia. We are at a point now where the majority party has a 60% supermajority in both houses. That means they can take on debt. They can pass budgets without a single Republican vote. The problem that I see is our politics has become increasingly divided, and we are retreating to our team sports, right? We are going to our side, they're going to their side, and we are not talking to each other. Well, what I have experienced is that the regular everyday people out there care far less about the team that you belong to and much more about their quality of life. And so what I think we have got to do is speak to more people where they are rather than revert to and resort to just the color of the jersey that I'm wearing, right? Republican or Democrat. We have to talk to each other like adults, like neighbors, like fellow citizens, and we have to speak to our whole community that way. And I think that right now, in a lot of ways, both sides are failing miserably at that. The thing I'll miss most about Olympia is the people. From the staff, to the fellow members that I have, the relationships I have in my caucus, and frankly, most especially across the aisle. It's a powerful, rich experience to meet people from different places, with different backgrounds, with different viewpoints, different ways of looking at the world, and connecting with them. I'm going to miss that a lot. It's sort of the hallmark of my life that I love different ways of thinking. I love talking to people who don't see things the way I do. Frankly, I think it challenges me in my viewpoints and my attitudes and beliefs. I think it's good for them to hear me and my attitudes and beliefs that might be different. I'm going to miss that opportunity here in the state capitol. It's something that I have valued so much. It's something that I will continue, whether I'm here or not, to live into in my life. And it has just the people here, Republican, Democrat, elected officials or staff, legislative branch or executive branch, whoever we're talking about, it's just been really fun to be surrounded by such really interesting and so many wonderful people.
One final question for you. Any chance we see you back here?
Any chance you see me back here, I am not making any predictions about my political future. What I will tell you is I am really delighted to be able to refocus myself on my young family. I have a 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and a 2-year-old at home. My amazing wife, Christy, has been such a support to me, and my business and livelihood are the number one priority for the well-being of my family. So that's what I'm focused on. I'll leave politics for another day.
Well, this staffer will miss you much.
Thank you very much, Hannah. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us for the Fix Washington podcast, brought to you by the Washington State House of Representatives. I'm Hanna Scott. Join us Fridays in the 2025 session for new episodes.
Fix Washington with Hanna Scott, a podcast from Washington House Republicans. Go to our website, houserepublicans.wa.gov. Find us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube.